Okay, we're now recording, and it is 12:04 p.m. on August 13th.
I'm getting an awful lot of feedback from something. I don't know what it is. By the way, I do not have a printer, so I couldn't print off any of the documents, Laura.
Okay.
So in order to start the meeting, though, would somebody be willing to read the declaration for the electronic meeting?
Yes, I have that if you need it.
Go for it.
The determination of electronic meeting, Chapter 1283 of the Virginia 2020 Acts of Assembly addresses the ability of soil and water conservation districts to hold electronic meetings without the need for quorum being present in a single location when a state of emergency has been declared pursuant to 44-146-17 of the Code of Virginia. So I therefore move that the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors has determined the nature of the declared COVID-19 virus emergency makes it impractical or unsafe for us to assemble in a single location for the purpose of transacting business statutorily required or necessary for us to continue operations and discharge our lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. End of motion.
So we have a move to have the electronic meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's Chris, I take it. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Chris. So let's just call the roll. Jerry, all in favor, signify by saying Andrea?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
And Chris, aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Jerry, and everybody else. And as I said, I apologize because I'm traveling, so I don't have the electronic documents that Laura sent. I can't see them unless I go off the video, which I may do. But at any rate, what was the first thing that you had on the agenda, Laura? Seems to me.
Sorry, the first thing I had actually was the review of our minutes from the July 8th meeting. So a copy was provided to you all just prior, and again, it's a fairly simple bit of minutes because we were in closed session predominantly, and so it just again acknowledges who made the motions in order to go into closed session, as well as who made the motion and seconded and the votes for approval of the minutes and the declaration of electronic meeting. There was just the one item that we discussed when we opened up and addressed during our regular board meeting, which was the advertising the vacancies, and then we adjourned at 9:35. So just as normal, we're trying to get into the rhythm of with our committee meetings, we're reviewing and approving minutes at that time.
Probably could use a motion that the minutes be approved as presented.
So moved.
Jerry moves. Is there a second?
It's Adria. I'll second.
All right. Thank you, Adria. We have a movement and a second to accept the minutes as presented. I'll call the roll again. All in favor, signify by saying aye. I'll start with Jerry. Oh. Jerry?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Monica?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. The minutes are accepted as presented. Thank you. Can't hear you, Laura.
I was being so good about muting myself so that you don't hear the background noise in my house. John, we did, this is really our opportunity to kind of have some open forum if you wanted to discuss anything related to board and introduce the board, well, what they call the operating rules or guidelines that had been developed by the Dakota County Soil and Water Conservation District. We can either do that now, or depending upon your interest, we can also come back into an open session after we have a conversation regarding personnel.
We can do either. Does the board have a If not, let's just discuss it a little bit right now. Laura did share with you that information we received from a district in Minnesota, but many districts throughout the United States have some operating board procedures, since most districts don't have bylaws and we do not. We're one of those that does not. And these operating procedures kind of flesh out how the board and the staff and everybody is going to operate in a little more detail than I think we have currently. And it's something might want to take a look at and see whether or not that sort of operating guidelines and procedures might be something we would want to adopt if we'd like to take some time and look at it and prepare something that suits us. Did all of you have a chance to look at what Laura sent from, I think it was Scott County in Minnesota?
I have, and I think the operative parts of that have to do with the roles and responsibilities of the board versus the executive director. And I think the statement in the South Dakota document very clear. You know, everything that has to do with the staff is Laura's responsibility, and everything that has to do with the board acting up or not acting up is a board responsibility. So we have kind of operated in that mode now for a long time. I guess the question is that kind of separation of powers, if you would, that we intend to document. I think everyone should read that before we go making a motion about it.
Yeah, I think it would be good if everybody could read it. By the way, Jerry, you were awfully faint for me there. I'm not sure if it's my computer or what happened, but the fact is we're not suggesting that stuff we got from Minnesota be adopted either. You know, we if we're going to do something like that, and it might be a good exercise for us to go through to do something like that, it should reflect what we want and not what they do and why they've done it, because they're so different.
That's just the example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a little confusing because all their terminology was different and it was a little redundant in places. And we've got the director orientation notebook and other stuff that all sort of, what we don't want to do is make, and I've run into this, a room full of procedures and nobody knows them. And I think we can be a lot more succinct and direct on it. And I think right now with the hiring and the staffing, we should focus on what the director's roles are relative to that, and maybe build our summary that's similar to theirs piece by piece as we go along, and we're addressing different things.
Well, we certainly could. It seems to me, though, that kind of a discussion is something that would be worthwhile having. I don't know that we've ever had any of that kind of a discussion since I've been on the board. Adria might know, but it probably wouldn't hurt us to go through that exercise just to do it for ourselves.
I would agree, John, but
at any rate, I don't know that we need to discuss that anymore unless we do at some point decide we'd like to take that on as a little bit of a project and see who would like to contribute to at least a draft.
If you don't mind me speaking up for just a moment, I think one of the things that I see as being beneficial for having a document like this is also from the executive director's side is having that understanding of the consistency between the relationship between the board and the executive director. I think having it clear is very supportive. I'm always looking at, because I'm telling you, and I'm on record right now, I'm not looking to leave whatsoever. But we have influxes of new people that come in, and what we're really trying to preserve is the culture of our organization. And so this is something that John and I have talked about for a little while as just one of those mechanisms to help to support that into the long term. I think it's wonderful. We've got new people that come in with fresh ideas, and those are all really important to make sure that they are shared. And we want to be able to create that forum so that there is that that candor and that decorum that continues on, that really makes us work so incredibly well. So I see this as just one of those guiding documents that supports us. I can tell you I've reached out to my counterpart at Dakota County Soil and Water, who developed this, and I had come across actually and just said, oh, well, this is really great as part of those orientation documents, because what we receive from DCR is very broad. And this is more, how do we do things? And we have board members that come on with a wide range of experiences being on boards. And this is just, it's one of those tools to, again, help to support and understand what the division of duties and responsibilities are, as well as just how we interact during our regular board meetings, the Robert's Rules of Order and things like that. So it's having it all in kind of one place to be able to refer back to as well. What Dakota County does is they review it annually. And if there are any changes, they review it basically during an executive operations type of meeting. It is a living document, but it is the board's reference document. And they approve it every year. I don't know if that's something that we want to do, but again, it's just a model that if we wanted to adopt a similar process, we could. So it's, I do see there being great value in this. Again, just because there are changes that do occur, and it's again just a nice way of being able to document how we do business.
Laura, just kind of interesting. First of all, if we did do something like this, and I guess I would favor it if we would all agree that we'd like to try. But if we do something like this, it should be part of our policies. And at some point, it should be in our policy documents, so it's there. And an annual review, of course, would be very worthwhile doing. Interestingly enough, when I was the area engineer for SCS back in Minnesota in the 1960s, Dakota County was one of my counties. I don't know the current people there, but Laura found them somehow.
That's an interesting point. How did you get in touch with these people about this particular subject, Laura?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was looking at other references. When I knew we had a couple of new board members coming on board, I was looking for some nice references for that, really for being able to to be able to document just some of our current programs and procedures and things like that. And to be honest, a lot of what they have in this guidebook, we have kind of scattered, but it's never been really compiled and put in one place as a guidance document. Whether I was just looking for something again that was helpful as an orientation tool. And so when I found it, I had been Googling, I reached out to the Dakota County, my counterpart there in Dakota County, and he very much was welcome to the idea of having it replicated and sent me the Word copy. Again, it's there, and it was just an opportunity. I think we've talked quite a bit during our orientations and all of a wide variety of the different things that are included in this guide. That again, just is it's just a model and a tool that we could, adopt ourselves as well.
And I think it's safe to say, Laura, that at one time, maybe almost a year ago now, you and I were going to put together a little draft of something like this and present it as a draft to the board and see how they wanted to deal with it. And of course, the virus and everything else, I think, kind of put that on the back burner. I'd still like to contribute to that, working with Laura and other board members if we're interested. And maybe what I can do is after this session today, come back and see how many would like to work on helping put something like that together.
I would suggest that we do it in a context so that we don't have to go into public meetings and then go.
Yeah, if we can, Jerry, that's right.
Working system, so perhaps 2 board members and Laura.
Yeah.
Can we get, is that okay with the, what's the law?
And it wouldn't have to be me, it could be any 2.
Well, it sounds like you're interested.
I wonder if it would be beneficial if we just took turns, because I think this is a document that we would all benefit from looking at and kind of reviewing and adding to. I just think in a way as a new person, I would appreciate looking at it, but I'm not necessarily going to have the foundation to lend everything to it. So if we could maybe figure out a way to kind of cycle through and put our eyes on it and create it, that would be, I think, helpful.
Created what, Monica? What do you?
This is Chris. I had actually started writing an email following up from our last operations committee meeting that addressed part of this with the relationship between Laura and the board, mostly in looking at hiring, staff management, and the relationship to the strategic plan. I made a bunch of notes. I got started, but then my neighbor's septic system overflowed and we had a blowout of as I sent Laura a picture of water chestnut on the lake that just exploded in this hot weather, so I didn't get to finish it. But I'm definitely interested in looking at that and have some notes that we can talk about as we go into closed session too.
Good. You know, I think let me just a historical perspective perhaps for Chris and Monica. We have had the luxury of having two very competent executive directors in Diane and Laura, and I think the board in my tenure, which has been
Jerry, I can't hear you. You kind of keep fading.
really.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
In
Better.
my tenure here, those are the two executive directors we've had, and there just have not been many questions arise about what the division is between the board, because Diane and Laura have done such good jobs. There hasn't been a question. I think this recent proposition of refilling the conservation engineer, whatever, 3 position has brought this to a head. And without getting into the details of that, I think it makes it's a legitimate question to address, document, and all agree to going forward. So I think I'd like to see, since Chris is willing and John, you brought it up, can we agree that you three are the committee to come up with some draft language? Laura, John, and Chris?
Yeah, I'm certainly willing. Chris is and Laura is, and maybe when we get an opportunity, we can come back and take a look at the whole outline and see how we'd like to start.
Great. I would suggest, 3 sources of information to start. One is the South Dakota stuff. The other is our own policy manual, particularly human resources section. It's really the only place that the executive director's responsibilities are addressed at all that I can find. And the third are the training materials that we received. Chris and Monica and I recently went through this with Debbie. There is a page in there, one of the PowerPoint slides, that talks about the district managers is the title they use, that specifies what I think what DCR expects. So that should be stirred into the mix.
Yeah, we use those references.
Good.
I think that's a really, really solid start and solid recommendations, Jerry. And I'll say that certainly, there are many districts that don't have necessarily a district manager or have distributed the duties of what may be a district manager between some personnel and some board members. And so it's a little different. And I know that with DCR, their training materials try to address that broad brush. Nonetheless, I think that this is where we have that opportunity to really distinguish what the authorities have been given to the executive director and the board, and just again clarifying those points. I think my job description is also a helpful and another useful tool to look at where those duties and responsibilities fall as well for the executive director position too. So I agree. I think those are all really valid. I'd look forward to working with John and Chris on this, and I like Monica's idea as well of finding some opportunities to make sure that others are able to provide some input throughout the process as well. And maybe our executive operations committee might fit that bill.
I think one thing to add.
All right, let's decide we're going to do that. And
I'll make a motion that we establish a small committee to review these policies and establish something similar for Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District.
I would second that.
You may. We have a motion and a second. And again, I'll call the roll. All in favor of the motion to establish the guidance and operations for the board, a little document that fits in our policy book. All in favor signify by saying aye, and I'll start with Jerry.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Adria?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried.
Maybe, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you heard me or it was Monica.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I drew.
Monica, I didn't hear the question.
All right, we'll go ahead and set up something in the way of a little schedule to get this thing started, and we'll make sure that when we do get some things put together, we find a way to make sure the entire board gets to first of all review them, but maybe use the operations committee as an opportunity to work on that little bit of a document from time to time. That would be a good forum for that, I think. Is it time to go into an executive session? And if so, somebody's going to have to come up with the right words again, because I'm just looking at a screen. By the way, I happen to be out at Massanutten, which is not too far from you all, and it is raining cats and dogs out here.
We have had a really massive thunderstorm this morning. Actually, I was supposed to get a truckload of soil mate and seed delivered from Merrifield Garden Center, and I had to reschedule it because it was coming down so heavy this morning.
Soil might.
Soil might. So, but yeah, it's been really wet here too, and it's expected to continue all day. I don't know how everybody else is doing.
Between yesterday and today, we have 3.5 inches in the rain gauge.
Wow.
Yesterday morning, we woke up to a thunderstorm at 3 in the morning.
Well,
And
that was 2:55 here, and it just
Yeah.
about threw me out of bed.
yeah,
All the windows rattled.
I can let you all know that unfortunately in our community, the newest pipe project has been sufficiently, incredibly done poorly. And so the entire floodplain is now moving into our parking lot and storm. I can't even share with you the trouble that's about to hit Fairfax.
Oh no.
Not good. Not good.
That's disappointing to hear for sure.
Yeah, so rain is not welcome, and we've got a couple months of everything going into Huntley Meadows very soon. Yeah. Yeah, so be aware that that's coming down the pike as far as like our entire graveled parking lot is about to go into Doe Creek.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think it's hitting a lot of different places in the state. Out here at Massanutten, of course, we get a lot of TV from Stanton, and Stanton has had some tremendous flooding downtown and damaged many of their buildings, their city park. It's done tremendous amounts of damage. At any rate, does somebody have the words for us to go into a executive session?
I wish I had those down. I don't.
Yeah.
I can read it to you if you would like, if somebody would be.
If you would, please.
Sure. So the time right now is 12:27. So the board of directors will enter into closed session to discuss personnel items as allowed by the Code of Virginia, section 2.2-3711A1.
Does that need to be a motion and approved?
It does.
so moved.
It's been moved by Adria, I think. I heard Adria.
Second, Chris.
And Chris seconds. So again, I'll call the roll to make sure we're all on record. I'll start again. Jerry? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Monica?
Aye.
You may have gone in and out a little bit there, John. Were you calling for Adria?
I'll say aye. This is Adrian.
Chris, aye.
Yeah. Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm pausing again it's now 12:28. Just coming out of closed session, it is 2:04 p.m. I'm going to read the certificate of closed session. Whereas the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District has convened a closed meeting on today pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.23.3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District that a closed meeting was conducted in conformity with the Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District hereby certify that, to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certificate resolution applies. And two, only Such public business matters as discussed in the motion convening the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered by the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District. So we'll just need a motion second and then a roll call vote.
So move.
It's been moved by Jerry. Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded by Chris. Any further discussion about coming out of closed session? If not, I'll call the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye. Start with Jerry.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
This is Adria. I.
Monica?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are out of closed session. Now, is there somebody that would like to make the motion that we approve Laura's, give Laura the authority to negotiate the salary for the Conservation Specialist 2 position?
I'll make that motion. This is Monica.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, I think Jerry seconded. I couldn't hear. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And she's already given us the salary, which will appear in the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll again call the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Aye.
Guess I heard everybody.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Laura, you do have the authority to do that negotiating on the Conservation Specialist 2 position. Is there anything else that the board would like to take up today? Or that Laura would like the board to take up today?
I guess my only question is did you want to make the motion authorizing the Finance Committee to review the other salary we discussed during closed session? And bring that back to the Executive Operations Committee in September.
I would make that motion, but can I do that as the chair of the finance committee?
Yes, that's a perfect reason.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. When you do it that way, I don't think it even requires a second.
Oh, really? Why?
We probably will have one though, just to be safe for
I will
today.
second just to get it
And-
over with.
I've heard Chris make the motion and Jerry seconded it, so this will be discussed at the Finance Committee meeting next month on the 22nd, no, the week before the 22nd, or whenever it is, I'm not sure of the date. Any further discussion on that motion? I'll again call the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye, please. Start with Jerry.
Aye.
Adria?
Aye.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion carried. Is there anything further to come before the board today?
I have.
If there isn't, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
I hear a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Aye. Adria. Second.
Thank you, Adria. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? I'll again call the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye. Jerry?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye.
This is Adria. Aye.
Ayes have it. Jared, I
You all
want
right,
to thank you.
Monica?
Yeah, I don't know what just happened.
Thank you all and thank Laura for taking the time and being with us to do all of this today. And hopefully we'll have a good productive session next month.
Agreed. No, I really do appreciate everybody's insights. And like I said, my goal is to make sure that you all feel confident with the decisions that you're making, and that we continue to, work together in the best interest of the district. And I feel like we're heading in that direction. So appreciate that. So with that,
We are adjourned.
all right, at
Thank
2:09 p.m. we're gonna end the recording. So thank you all again.
Stay dry.
Yes.
Don't get floated away, Monica.